All right, now what we're using here is the Dake Cold Saw. Now, this is a really heavy-duty saw. It's a 3-phase, 3.5 horsepower. It cuts slow. That's what makes it a cold saw. It has, of course, lubricating and cutting fluid in it. And when you're using chassis tubing like chrome moly, you don't want to get that hot cutting it. You want to make sure you keep the heat out of it. This thing has all kinds of neat features. You have a little lever here you can lock. You unlock that, and of course you can move your vise in and out, depending on the material you have. Okay, you also, it will miter on both sides, and it'll slide all the way around to 90 degrees. That way you can slot cut. Really does a nice job. Got an emergency stop and a speed control on top here. I'll set this back to 0. There we go. Lock this up. And this vise, by the way, this is a cam lock. You just spin this up till you get your part close, lock it down. That's all you need to do. This thing really works great. By the way, it's built well. Look at this. This is the spindle. It's got big tapered bearings in there. Okay, and what we have here is the drive gear. You should bury that blade in something that grabs it instead of tearing something up. Right here is a cone clutch. Clutch unloads. You don't break anything. And of course, it has some other neat features like the stop gauge. Plugs in there. If you're going to do repeat cuts, get it all set up. Now I'll go ahead and cut this pipe off and see what we can do here.
Moving on, you have the chop saw. Now, it's basically a big cutoff wheel in a much more controlled environment, so it's very quick, very accurate. But you need to wear eye and ear protection, just like a grinder, and it leaves a lot of slag on the cuts, and it will also shower your shop with sparks and coat everything with dust. Now, most people are probably familiar with the tools I've shown you so far, but not this next one. This is made by Dake, and it's called a cold saw. Now, a lot of you are probably looking at this going, oh man, that's just a chop saw. No, it's much more than that. First of all, you got some heavy-duty clamps and rollers to hold your work in place, and then the whole cutting assembly will rotate up to 45 degrees for extremely accurate miter cuts and straight cuts. But the biggest difference is how it cuts. Notice the blade rotates very slowly and is washed in cutting fluid, so there's no heat. It's quiet, you get precise, slag-free cuts, and there's no sparks or metal shavings flying around. They all end up in a nice, neat pile right down here. Now, the cold saw will cut through any thickness of material, from thick C-channel to solid steel stock, stainless steel, square tubing, super thin stuff without distortion. It'll even cut perfect fish mouths and tubing if you're building a tube chassis. Now, how thin will it cut? Well, I just sliced off a piece here. It's as thin as a dime. Now, obviously, a cold saw is not for everybody. If you're just a weekend wrench, man, your hacksaws and your cutoff wheels will serve you just fine. But if you're more serious than that, or a professional fabricator, you may want to call up Dake and check out a cold saw. It will make your life a lot easier.
This episode of American Chopper.
How can I cut this in half and have it straight?
You know, it's kind of funny. For the last couple of weeks or so, me and my dad haven't had much to do with each other. Not that I'm really complaining. I mean, the truth is, if we always worked in separate shops, I think our relationship would be a lot healthier.
What do you think, Al?
Looks pretty straight too, doesn't it? Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, I'm going back to work. Thanks for bugging me. Vinny, you're going to start fabricating the handlebars. Because that's something we can get out of the way right now. And it'll actually buy us a little time to do the rest of the fabrication for the bike. For this project, I decided to go with a straight drag bar. Once we decided the rise and the pitch that we wanted, we started cutting and fabricating.
horrible noise, ain't it?
Yeah. Snap on.
Snap off.
But we haven't calculated the spring rate for this truck yet, and we're going to show you how to do that later. So for now, we're going to install some mock-up shocks. We have the specs for our shocks from Bilstein, and we know that the installed height is going to be 33 inches.
What I'm going to do is cut a couple pieces of 1x1 so we can make a brace for the front subframe.
Get up and do something. If you have the dream, we've got the tools. Dake Corporation since 1887. Call for a catalog or visit us online today.